Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 26 of the Hopenning. And the Hopenning is a place where hope happens when you open yourself up to it. Marina and I have created a space that is positive, uplifting, and more than anything else, will bring you hope. My name is Fran, and I am a rapid transformational therapy practitioner part time. I live in Northern Alberta, Canada, and I am also a full-time teacher, and I teach school-age children that are in the elementary ages, and I've been doing it for 33 years. My beautiful friend Marina is very talented, and as well, she is a rapid transformational therapy practitioner, and she has a full-time job doing this. She is also she has a background in music and was pretty much singing before she could even talk. Marina sings with a big band in Calgary, Alberta, and she also lives part-time in southern British Columbia, Canada. And she is also a part-time owner of a Christmas caroling business. Welcome, Marina.
Thank you, Fran. Thank you. Beautiful, beautiful summer weather here at the moment. So I'm celebrating.
And we are celebrating the long daylight hours in the north.
Right. Isn't that lovely? Well,
Lovely.
episode 26, which means that it was 6 months ago when you and I started this. And I remember it was fall last year when we started to plan and talk about creating this positive space where we can just spread hope and positivity. And here we are today, 6 months since we actually had our first video. So Fran, let's recap. Let's talk today about what have you felt over the last 6 months? What stand out to you?
And as I think about it, Marina, I think about the growth that has happened, not only in myself, but in the ripple effect. I always think about the ripple effect. And I've just learned so much in the 26 episodes we've done, not only from listening to you, because you are a wealth of knowledge, listening to our guest experts as well, working with the clients that I have worked with and sharing their journeys with them, and as well doing some of the research that I have done for the certain topics that we're covering each week. And I really look forward to doing our vlog. It's one of the highlights of my week because I get to learn even more about myself and about the way people react and interact, and of course about how things always come back to the baggage, the ideas we have from childhood, the way we live our lives if we don't become conscious of the patterns that we have that were built a long, long time ago. And so I'm very grateful for this vlog that has helped me with my own journey. And as I say that, what would you say has been the changes that you have experienced, Marina?
Fran, I have to thank you for your kind words and the same to you. I love having you here because I feel that a sense of accountability. And I'm a busy person. I'm that kind of person that always creates something for me to do. I cannot sit still. So it would be easy for me to jump to the next thing. But because I have you here, I'm not. I'm showing up and I'm feeling how I'm going through it. And it's funny because the other day I was looking for something and I listened to one of our very first videos. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I'm so grateful that we are where we are now, because I think we're learning, we're growing. It's transforming as it is transforming us as well. But most of all is the feedback. So heartwarming, mostly private messages that I get from people that is just touching me at such a deep level. It's just wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And those are the ones that have told you about it, right?
Yeah.
And I know that there are a lot of people that watch that maybe not have expressed it back to us, but they feel it in their hearts. And like we say, the change is transformative, and there's a ripple effect. And so one person, even just one person, listens to the vlog, and there's even a tiny little bit of change. It changes their trajectory, which will also change the trajectory of other people in their lives.
And I think the vlog is one thing, but it's also that space we created on Facebook, that where we and some of our members share frequently some positive messaging. And we live in a world where everywhere you go, you are bombarded with negativity. And so this is a place that I feel it's like an oasis that people can escape to if they just want that injection of switching that energy to something that gives hope, exactly like our name says, Hopenning. It's a place where hope is happening. So
right.
in that sense, I am so proud, and that I think that's the one thing that we have really accomplished, is to create a space that gives people hope.
I agree. So the format for today is we're going to go through the episodes quickly. And if any of our viewers are interested in seeing all of the episodes from 1 to 26, we will have them under our Facebook tagged as feature. And that's where you'll be able to find them. There will be a link for all of them to our YouTube channel, where they'll be easy to find. And so,
right. And
yeah.
also in YouTube, they can just search for Hopenning. It will come up. It's numbered from one. We had an introduction where we introduced ourselves. So that was actually 27 weeks ago. And but after that, they're all when we started to discuss topics. And so we went through a transformation as we came up with topics. And I think initially for me, Fran, I don't know how you felt, but I spoke about things that first of all meant a lot to me, or that I dealt with a lot with clients. But then at some point we felt that we should pump some new life into it. And that's when we decided to get monthly themes and invite guests. And I think that was just such a brilliant, brilliant idea.
Me too. Yeah, and I'm glad we did.
So
Okay.
let's go share the screen here, and then we can go back to episode 1 was hope.
Episode 1.
I'm going to scroll all the way down.
Sure.
Episode 1 was hope. And yes, I remember, Fran, I don't know if you remember how we talked about certain things. And I just want to open the screen here so we can actually see each other. There you go.
Yeah. And the thing with hope, I remember feeling that once hope is gone, it doesn't matter what else you have. It doesn't matter your looks, your wealth, relationships, anything. If there is a loss of hope leads to depression, which also involves anxiety. But when there's no hope, it leads to depression. And depression, of course, leads to all kinds of other issues in people's lives. So I think because we built our name, the name of Hopenning, around the word hope, that was pivotal in the very first episode that we had.
Yes, I thought that was really good. One of the things that really surprised me was a few people came to me afterwards and said to me, wow, some of the wording in there, which is literally what we got from our training, was just hit home so deeply. And that, I guess that's really what we're trying to accomplish, is to, if we can just be out there for people to resonate with the message we have and get a little bit of hope out of what we do on a daily basis, then it's just such a wonderful thing to do.
Yeah. It only takes a little bit, right?
It does
One
take a little bit.
small
Yeah.
amount, and
Yeah.
it begins to grow.
Right. And to me, I think one of the things that we come back with, regardless of the topic that we discuss, is that what you focus on will increase. And if you focus on hopelessness, that will definitely increase. So we try to, in this situation, take it upon ourselves, you and I, Fran, and some of our members, to actually refocus people in this group to things that will give you hope, to messages that's really positive. And I get thousands a day, and I read them. And when I see one that I feel, okay, this is a good fit, I will share that, because, wow, I know, wow, but it feels like sometimes if you just see that message in the time of a struggle or hopelessness, and you just feel that, okay, you know what, there is actually hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Episode 2 was on anxiety, and
Right.
I spoke about anxiety mainly because at that time, for whatever reason, maybe it was because we were going into the fall, I had many clients coming to me with anxiety issues, some
Right.
worse than others, some breaking out all the way into anxiety attacks, panic attacks. And I thought it was super important at that time to talk about anxiety
Right.
and what anxiety does and how crippling it is to not only people of our age, but young people now, and how anxiety is a pandemic in itself.
And talk about pandemic, I find within my clientele and friends that it is really been very anxiety driven, and every time you turn the news on, there's something else that can wake up that panic and that fear again. And it's just interesting how that works. So I think that was just such an appropriate topic for the kind of life we live today. Oh, that's great.
And opening 3, finding purpose. That was an episode that you were the main speaker on that one. Can you tell us a little bit about what you had done research on and your clients on finding purpose?
It's very interesting, Fran, because after that, I find that a lot of people, it's something that they're really drawn to. Women our age, who have gone through life working really hard. Now all the kids have moved out, and I cannot tell you how many times I see this. Now they sit and they think, but why am I here? So it's one of the biggest joys in my life is to work with clients like that, to help them to find their purpose and see them light up like a Christmas tree and get to that, aha, this is why I'm here. And I think once a person can find their purpose, it gives them that reason to get out of bed every morning. And, that's the antidote to depression a lot of times. And I think finding purpose is something really big, especially in older women, because we are givers, we're caregivers naturally. So in a sense, I want to say that episode is something that can kind of change my practice.
Yeah. So dreading Christmas, opening number 4 was dreading Christmas, and I talked about dreading Christmas. And my experience with that was about how Christmas always has these huge expectations around it to be the perfect family holiday, right? Because the way it's portrayed on television, the way it's portrayed on movies, the way it's portrayed in advertising, it's supposed to be perfect. And yet, in reality, that is very seldom the case, because for many reasons, could be addictions within the family, could be within the family of origin. There were addictions that really ruined the Christmas for the children. And so the children brought that baggage into their adulthood, feeling this overwhelming dread of Christmas, not only because of the huge expectations that Christmas is supposed to be perfect, but how Christmas never was perfect. And so allowing everyone to know, hey, it's okay to dread Christmas. It is okay, and you are not alone.
Exactly. That was absolutely brilliant. So New Year's were, I remember, and this is the accountability piece. I made a statement and you challenged me on it. And I said that this year, my hope for the new year is to capture my thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And I cannot tell you what a theme it's been up until now. It's 5 months later. And it has become a very important thing to me. And recently I entered into a challenge to do 60 days of the certain meditation every day. And it's been life-changing. And part of that is the awareness of how my thoughts can change my entire day. So capturing the thoughts, to me this year, the theme for this year to me has been very on point. And yes, that was interesting. And it's all about new resolutions and where do you hope this year would take you. So we all start the new year with the hope of a clean slate.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah.
we have to live it.
Right. So Hopenning number 6 and number 8 both dealt with food.
Right.
And those are two episodes that I spoke a lot about in relation to my own food addictions. So I talked about my own relationship with food and how food tended to be, until a few years ago, something I super struggled with, whether it was binge eating and purging, or it was the yo-yo dieting, or the way that I handled my relationship with food. I allowed food to dictate to me, right, how the relationship would work. And in those two episodes, I talk about how, in order to heal the relationship with food for once and for all, we need to be in relationship with food the same way we would be in relationship with a living entity, because food in itself at one point was living. And if we can look at that as a living thing, a real relationship where you slow down, you take your time, you're full of gratitude, you don't take it lightly, you monitor it. Basically, that is the way to resolve a unhealthy relationship with food, as it would be an unhealthy relationship with any living person. And so that was a deep dive.
Yes, I think that is such a relevant subject. Again, the entire relationship with food, and so well spoken to, Fran, with your personal experience. So that was absolutely brilliant, something a lot of people can relate to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So number 7, what it takes to make a change. That's something that's very close to my heart, because again, it's something I work with every day. And one thing that I will always remember is the 3 ways people learn. And the first one is you do a session with them and it's instantly. And sometimes the clients that I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to be many weeks of work, would contact me within a day and say, oh my gosh, what did you do? It's like, what? I'm just not the same anymore. And then so that's the first one. It's very instantly, if something clicks for them. And then the other one is people who sit back and reflect on it quite a lot. And then after a while, they consciously make the change. And then the last example is people who step away from it, doesn't think about it. And then 3 months later, they're like, wow, I've changed. I don't react the same anymore. So it's the 3 ways to make changes. And to me, it's really making the unfamiliar familiar. And something that I've been reflecting on a lot lately is if you believe something is possible, you can make it possible. And I guess I'm meditating a lot. So yeah, I believe in a lot of things. Okay. Let's see what's next.
So episode number 9 was our first guest speaker
That's right.
on Hopenning, and our first guest was
Emily Hall.
Emily Hall.
Fran, it's interesting because after this session, there was something she said in this session, and I contacted her and I said, I want to do a session with you. And she clued in on something. I have been addicted to chewing gum since elementary school. And look, I don't even have gum in my house anymore. So, and it was something about not necessarily emotional eating all the time, but just chewing. And she clued in like that. So I can highly recommend Emily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Emotional eating, right? She gave us her background with emotional eating and her own binge and purge stories of her own weight loss journey, up and down, and how it contributed to her diabetes, how it contributed to other emotional issues that she had, and her journey to overcome and recover from emotional eating, which was a brilliant and vulnerable episode for sure.
And Emily is an absolute joy to follow on LinkedIn. If anybody wants to follow her on LinkedIn, Emily Hall, her company is Fresh Forward. And she posts the most interesting things and heartwarming things that I absolutely love. And she has a very great, phenomenal program out of the UK where she literally takes people by the hand and do an extensive program with them to help them through emotional eating. It's a beautiful, well thought out program. I absolutely love what Emily is doing. So Fresh Forward, Emily Hall, I think in our video, there's also a link to get in touch with her.
And so began February, and February was our month of love and relationships. And I believe, Marina, you did the first episode, number 10, on finding love.
That's right. I had to share my very personal story of winning the man lottery. And so, yeah, finding love, it's still something that I'm very emotional about because, at the end of the day, to just sum it up is finding it in here for yourself first, and then it will come to you. It becomes like a magnet.
Yes. Loving yourself first.
Absolutely.
Right?
And in episode 11, you were talking about helping children grow.
That's right. And to grow up loving themselves, helping children grow up loving themselves. And because I'm a teacher and I see what happens to children who have a lot of demands put on them by not only their parents, but by society in general, the media, sports, all tons of stuff, that children grow up believing that they have to be able to do it all or nothing, right? And eventually it comes to the point where they don't believe in themselves anymore because they can't be perfect. And so that episode is extremely important, I believe, for parents to watch, as well as any type of a caregiver, grandparents. Grandparents seem to have an inside edge on stuff like this because of their experiences, their own experiences. So I think it's a little bit easier for grandparents to love without conditions, right? A little bit more difficult for parents to come down to that level. And that's why I think that episode was profound for me, especially doing the research on that and finding out what actually happens inside a child's brain when they have expectations put on them, which are difficult to meet the expectations.
Yeah. As a grandparent, it's very interesting to see how many years since my first baby has changed me and has changed my perception.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very interesting what you touch on there. So after that, we had a question and answer, our first question and answer. And we actually talked a little bit about hypnosis in general and what we do in RTT, and then touched a little bit on relationships. So that was quite an interesting frequently asked questions, I guess, question and answer episode that we've had.
And I would say to my viewers, if you really want some insider edge on what RTT, Rapid Transformational Therapy, does, go to episode 13, opening number 13. And Marina and I talk a lot about RTT in general and what to expect, and the kinds of things that we, through Rapid Transformational Therapy, the amazing things that have resulted from it in our clients.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So then we went to March, right?
March was the month of luck and money. Mm-hmm.
That's right.
And that was interesting because Marina, you spoke on episode 14, and we also had two guest speakers later on in the month that both talked about money blocks and ways of overcoming money blocks. And if you want to talk a little bit on that and give just an overview of March with money, and I will talk a little bit about luck.
Right, Miss Lady Luck here in our little corner. So money blocks is again something that surprisingly to me, I've had quite a bit of success with 4 clients, and I learned in my own life how to live in that attitude of abundance. And to me, that goes hand in hand with an attitude of gratitude. And so to just bring that balance of giving and receiving into clients' lives, where it's not just giving all the time, and that is what's creating stress. But also sometimes allow yourself to receive. So there's a lot that we can say about that. And then we had 2 lovely ladies that are also RTT therapists. One is in England, but she was originally from Romania. Her name is Liliana Myers. And she had a very heartwarming story to tell of her own struggles, her own personal story of immigrating from Romania, being a single mother, and overcoming all her own money blocks, and how she's living in abundance today. And then we also had Stacey Henry Carr, and that was also just absolutely amazing. Her story about her daughter, how she taught her daughter how to celebrate just a little bit of money that we would perceive as a little bit of money, just really touched my heart so deeply. So in our links also, and Liliana is right now reaching out, she is reaching out to any refugee from the war in Ukraine to have a free session with her. So in our comments also on here, or in the description, there's some links to reach her. Stacey as well. Stacey is really well known and does a lot of seminars and webinars on her own. So it's definitely worth looking into those 2 ladies. And then our Lady of Luck, Fran, you had episode 15.
I had episode 15 on luck, and I talked about how luck is something that can be cultivated. We are not born lucky, as opposed to what a lot of people believe. Josh, you're just born lucky. You're born with horseshoes. You're born with whatever. Luck can be cultivated with an attitude that you receive abundantly, and that you do have luck within you. And how important it is to believe and walk in that belief that you are in abundance. And so some of the things that you can do is actually take a different route home, do different things, do a variety of things, hang out with people that believe in you and are positive, and just make just be grateful for all experiences, whether they're positive or negative, to be grateful for them, and to realize that somewhere in the big scheme of the universe, that all things are working together for your good. If we can cultivate that attitude of gratefulness, acceptance, um, then we bring luck to ourselves. That is what the key to being lucky is.
Exactly. And then we went into the March of April, where we discussed grief, and we kicked it off with a phenomenal guest, Reverend Chaz Wesley, and he is a grief expert. And so why don't you tell us a little bit more about that?
Chaz Wesley has worked with the grieving and the dying for over 20 years. He he had his own journey with grief. When he was diagnosed with cancer, his mother was also diagnosed with cancer at the same time, and she died within a week or two of her diagnosis. And so not only did he have to deal with the grieving of the person who was closest to him in his own life, he had to deal with his own grieving of his own journey through cancer, which took several years to get over, as well as there was the loss of a relationship, an important relationship, and he lost his job, he lost his home. There was a lot of grief in Chaz's life, and the way that he dealt with that after he was able to was to get into grief recovery, and from there it springboarded him into becoming an expert with grieving and dying, and building a life around helping others that were in hospice or had loved ones in hospice and hospice care. And now he's got a phenomenal business. The links are in the show notes on that episode, of how, if you are dealing with grief due to death and loss, that you can get a hold of Chaz, and he's a phenomenal therapist in that area.
Yeah, he's quite an amazing person, so I highly recommend connect with him if you really want to get that expert grief counsel from somebody that does this for a living. So that was absolutely amazing. Then Fran, you shared a very, very heartfelt story about your little brother in episode 20.
Right, yes. In episode 20, we talked about grief and compassion, and how I moved through a grieving time with the loss of my little brother, who died at the age of 13, extremely quickly, unexpectedly, and what that did to my mom, because she had had him at the age of 46, and truly both she and my dad, who was 50 at the time, believed that that my little brother would outlive them. And when after he died, it was so her grief journey was so extreme that it broke her heart, and she died not shortly afterwards, but that became the impetus for her own death later on from cancer and heart disease. So how important it is to grieve and to be able to move through grief so it doesn't impact us later in our own health. How important it is to really look at our grief and grieve and to surround ourselves with people who allow us to grieve in a way that they don't take away our pain, but they sit with us and grieve with us and be with us without the platitudes, without having to say a word, but just sit with us and allow us to be in grief, is the most profound way of helping someone else to grieve.
Absolutely amazing. Amazing. So we decided to have an episode 21 on the grief of relationships that is not because of a death. So as we go through life, relationship comes and go. I always think of that. It's a saying that some people are in your life for a season, some for whatever. I can't remember
A
the detail of
reason,
that. Right, right,
or a lifetime.
right, right.
Yeah.
And to be honest about that and acknowledge, that the reason why these people was here, or it was only a season, and then set them free with love and forgiveness, and to allow yourself to grieve those situations as well. And it can be a job loss, it can be any kind of loss. And then I was so excited about this one. Episode 22, we had an author, Julie Moore.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So Julie Moore wrote a book especially on grieving pet loss. And Julie is a counselor in a high school. She's worked in that position as for many, many years. And she has worked a lot with students through grieving processes. And one of the things that touches many, many of us all very deeply is the loss of a pet. Because, as you and I both know, Marina, a pet, a dog, it's most often a dog, but it can be a cat or it can be any kind of a pet, horses. Wow. The loss of a pet can affect us profoundly, and so much more than people even sometimes, because a pet loves unconditionally, and they're there for us regardless of our terrible mood that we're in, regardless of the mistakes that we make in our lives, regardless of the way we treat them. They welcome us back with love in their eyes and an open heart, just wanting to go for a car ride.
I've thought about this. I own this book, the Pet Soul book, and I thought about this afterwards quite a bit. And I think that is the kind of book that any vet who has to help people euthanize their dearest beloved pets should have to give to their clients the moment they go through that. It's a profound book, to the point where I think a lot of the tools in there is actually transferable to grief in other areas as well. So Julie Moore, she's on Instagram, on Facebook, the Pet Soul book, definitely a must read. Actually, just keep it with you if you have any pets. Very important book. Okay, where are we?
Episode 23.
Oh, right, May.
May. So in the month of May, we decided to focus on women, femininity, mothers, and the challenges that women seem to have in general in regards to moving on as a woman in today's society.
Right. This is something that shows up a lot for me in practice as women in menopause, and all the side effects of that. That's not always very pleasant. So it's, again, what you focus on will increase. So just to guide them gently to focus, to find a different focus, to find purpose in a different way, so that menopause is not the first thing they think of when they open their eyes in the mornings.
Yeah.
So,
Yes,
okay.
right.
And then you got us a lovely guest, Ola.
That's right. Ola Damaraz, who is a therapist in conscious parenting. And she was brilliant. And she told us, explained to us a little bit about the program called Conscious Parenting. It's a therapeutic program that she is part of. It's worldwide. And conscious parenting is all about maybe focusing more on ourselves as a parent than on the behavior of the child. And what is it in that child's behavior that triggers in us an emotional reaction? Because it's always about the emotional reaction that's happening within us and what we are seeing in them that's making us upset, concerned, feeling like we maybe are not being the parent we need to be, or in whatever way. Conscious parenting means let's focus on the parent rather than focus on the child. If we can focus on the parent, we can figure out our own stuff first, which makes us a much healthier and better parent.
Wonderful. Yeah, that was quite a beautiful episode as well. And then our last one, which was this week, was with Nicole Sorokin.
Sarah Chan, yeah.
Sarah
Sarah
Chan.
Chan.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
oh man, that was quite something as well. So why don't you tell us about Nicole?
So Nicole is a filmmaker located in Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. Nicole is an award-winning filmmaker, and she's internationally recognized. She did lots of work in the United States with big companies. She worked with Google. She did work with even Al Gore, and for Al Gore. So she knows her stuff. And the reason we highlighted Nicole and made her, we were super lucky to get Nicole on, was because of her background that she had done with a group of 30 women that she got together on an island off of Vancouver. She got the 30 women together, and together they built uh, a set of animated. First of all, it was an animated, an animated novel or an animated comic book, which became an animated short films on women's issues today. And for Nicole herself, it was transforming because, as she spoke about in the interview, because of stuff that happened to her as a teenager, she tended to shy away from working with women. And in the company that she created, she was not interested in hiring women with the drama that they brought with them into companies. And so she tended to only work with men and hire men. But after working with the 30 women, and digging deep into women's issues today, different types of issues, whether it's cyberbullying, whether it's women in the workforce, whether it's traditional gender roles with women. She came to understand herself better, and she realized how important it was to have women relationships in our own journey as women. And it changed the way she does business. And she now has in her boardroom probably an equal number of women as men. And so that was, it's a really interesting interview. And the videos she created are incredible. The artwork, the messaging is just incredible. And,
yeah, it's definitely worth going into all the links that she shared in our description here, and connect with her. And both, we didn't mention Ola at ABC Parenting as well, to connect with those ladies. They are absolutely amazing. And to see Nicole's movies, we showed a little bit of a clip, one that called Masquerade, and that really spoke to me, as you will see in the video. So well, and that brings us to episode 26. We're halfway through the first year, friends. So what is next for us?
So in episode 27, because we are still in the month of May, we will be talking about women and aging. And you and I, and hopefully every other woman watching it, will age gracefully and with integrity, respecting every part of our being. And we not only our skin and our wrinkles and our mind and body and spirit, but in all ways to become even more of what we were ever created to be, healthy, wise, and able to help other women through their journey as well. So that will be the topic for next week.
Excellent.
And I think that we missed one special guest. Did we talk about Eleni Kulumu in episode 12?
I think we may have skipped her. You may be right.
I think we,
Yes. Oh
I think,
wow. Yeah.
yeah. So
Thank you for
Eleni,
picking that up, friend.
well, as soon as I realized it, I'm like, oh my goodness, Eleni was incredible. And
Right. Right.
me being Lady Luck, I won
Right.
I think it was 5 sessions. I won 5 sessions on dating and relationships from Eleni. And what a lovely, lovely lady. And I learned so much
Yeah.
from her. And the information that she has in episode 12 also is incredibly interesting. And, there's so much stuff that I still need to learn about relationships and dating. And so, Eleni, thank you so much for all the help you have given me. I just honor you for that. So thank you.
Amazing. Thank you for remembering that. And Eleni, you're the highlight of our show. Thank you so much, friends. So we will see you all next week when we talk about women and aging. And thank you so much for being with us. And if you enjoyed recapping with us and there's anything that you want to revisit, you know where to find it. And we will see you next time.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon.